Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you a live coverage of the cultural symposium. The cultural symposium usually held by the armed forces. Here we see, as we see here on the screen, the presidential motorcade has already arrived in order to address the 33rd symposium, cultural symposium held by the Egyptian armed forces. Today marks the day of veteran warriors. Actually, March the 8th has been selected to be has been designated as the day of veteran warriors because it marks the same day as General Abdul Mun'im Riyad falling in action during the attrition war in 1969. So he was chief of staff of the armed forces, but still he insists, he put his foot down that he should go to front line with the enemy and see for himself how the war of attrition, then in full swing between Egypt and Israel, how things were going. And he fell because one of the enemy positions fired at him, killing him on the spot.
الرجال الذين صدقوا بالفعل ما عاهدوا الله عليها من خلال هذه العقيدة التي تربت في وجدانهم وفي بيوتهم عن طريق آبائهم وأسرهم.
So today marks the day of the veteran warriors, and the celebration is being attended and to be addressed by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah El Sisi, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt.
قادرة على حمايتك وشرطة مدنية يزود أبناؤها بالدفاع عن هذا الوطن ومقدساته ومقدراته غير عابئين بأرواحهم. كل ما يفكرون فيه وما يحملونه في صدورهم هو العقيدة والإيمان الثابت والراسخ.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have always seen that the armed forces, together with the civil police of the Ministry of the Interior, have in recent years have steadfastly waged war against terror in Sinai and elsewhere, and they have always sacrificed their own lives in order to protect, to maintain the security of the homeland.
إن الدرس الذي يجب أن نعلمه ونتعلمه ونعلمه أيضا لأولادنا وأبنائنا هو أنه لكل واحد فينا دور يقوم به في هذا الوطن.
We are, ladies and gentlemen, the audience, as we see here, are waiting for the President to walk into the room and start the ceremony.
وهي الآن حائط الصد المنيع الذي وقف ولا يزال أمام موجات الخطر والإرهاب التي طالت منطقتنا بأسرها. إن شعب مصر دائما ما يثبت أنه أقوى إرادة.
The auditorium is full to capacity. It's full to capacity of armed forces and civil police personnel who are attending the celebration, the ceremony, today's ceremony marking the day of veteran warriors and the day of martyrs who have fallen in action in order to defend their own country, their own nation.
السيسي رئيس الجمهورية القائد الأعلى للقوات المسلحة.
Of the Arab Republic of Egypt is now, ladies and gentlemen, walking into the auditorium to preside over the ceremonial celebration of Martyr's Day, or Day of Veteran Warriors. Peace be upon you all. Good morning to you all. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, President El Sisi of the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, ladies and gentlemen, a renewed meeting as usual, marking another day which will always be a source of pride and a source of glory for the armed forces, and which is likely to add more chapters to the book of glory written down by the Egyptian armed forces and police forces as well, which will be. This is the 33rd Cultural Symposium being held by the Armed Forces, marking the Veteran Warriors as well as Day of Martyrs, which marks the falling in action by General Abdulmun'im Riyad, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يستبشرون بنعمة من الله وفضل وأن الله لا يضيع أجر المؤمنين صدق الله العظيم.
كل سنة وحضراتكم طيبين.
Returns to you all. Many happy returns to you all and to Your Excellency President El Sisi. I have the honor to address Well, he is actor Asir Yassin. He's addressing the gathering. He's telling his own story about his upbringing and rearing. He said he has been reared by his grandfather. Grandfather was a major general in the army himself, and he's telling his own story that how his grandfather instilled and cultivated into him the values of martyrdom and the values of how valuable and how essential to protect one's own homeland and to fall in action in defense of one's own nation.
الشهادة مش رحيل إنسان. الشهادة ذكرى
being shown to the audience to show how brave the armed forces and military people have been defending their own country. The film narrator is telling the story of the martyrdom of General Lieutenant General Abdul Mun'im Riyad. This is the image of General Abdul Mun'im Riyad, who was the chief of staff of the armed forces. He fell in action on March the 8th. On March the 8th in this month, when he put his foot down that he should go to the front line during the attrition war in 1969 to inspect his own troops. Well, the mission, one of the quotations referred to by the chief of staff, he said that a commander in the army should be as much honest as he should be clever and good at fighting. Martyrs of the armed forces have never bent down except when bending down or prostrating themselves in prayer to God. But they have never bent down or prostrated themselves to any other body but God, Allah. By sacrificing their own lives, armed forces and police martyrs have sacrificed their own lives. By sacrificing their own lives, they have drawn up a new map for their own country, and they have been defending, by sacrificing themselves, they have been defending their own country against all enemies. One generation after the other, they follow the example. They take a leaf out of the honorable and great book of martyrs who have chosen to fall in action in order to defend their own nation and defend their own country. Those martyrs, by falling down in action, set the example, have always set the honorable and great example, immortal example to their country and to the generations to come. And the forthcoming generations, will always take a leaf out of the book in order to follow the path and sacrifice their own lives as well. They have shed their own red blood for the life of Egyptians to be covered in green farms and in factories and in all aspects of life. They have always, by doing so, will remain in action because we want to defend and uphold the dignity of man on the land of Egypt. In the name of all martyrs, we have steadfastly the President El Sisi is honoring is giving a coat of arms to the family of Martyr Mustafa Abidu, Colonel Mustafa Abidu, who was martyred during one of the frequent crackdowns on terror hotbeds in northern Sinai. And he's having a friendly talk with the martyred family, with the martyr's family.
اسم الشهيد البطل رائد سعيد حمدي سعيد أحمد استشهد البطل أثناء القيام بأعمال التفتيش. Major Hamdi Saeed Ahmed is being posthumously honored. ويتسلم التكريم والده ووالدته.
Major Ahmed is being posthumously honored by his father and mother. The martyr's living father and mother are being honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. The son, Hamdi Ahmed, was killed in action as he was clamping down on a hot spot of terror. President Abdel Fattah El Sisi is having a friendly talk with the martyrs' family, living father and mother, as giving them a coat of arms in recognition of the son's heroic deeds in northern Sinai. It seems that the living father and mother of the martyr are calling from the rows of seats of the people of the audience, people who are related, kith and kin, some kith and kin of the martyrs, would like to have a talk with the president. some of the relatives of the martyr seems to have joined armed forces. That's why he went up to the stage in uniform and made a military salute to the president. It seems to be his one of his comrades in arms. And we have a photo opportunity with His Excellency President El Sisi.
اسم الشهيد البطل نقيب وسام منصور محمد أمين. استشهد البطل أثناء تنفيذ دورية تمشيط طريق الماسورة المهدية. تم تبادل إطلاق النيران مع العناصر التكفيرية.
A captain is being posthumously honored as well, and he was killed in action while combing one of the regions in northern Sinai which are known to be infested with terror. He was combing the area when he received a gunshot that killed him immediately.
اسم الشهيد البطل ملازم شرف بسام نجيب إبراهيم علي. استشهد البطل أثناء قيامه بأعمال
honorary lieutenant, second lieutenant is being posthumously honored, and the plaque, the honorary coat of arms and plaque given to him by the president will be received by his wife and his son and daughter. So, honorary second lieutenant who was killed in action is being posthumously honored by His Excellency President El Sisi. His wife and his son and daughter are receiving a plaque, a coat of arms in recognition, in acknowledgement of his of the martyr's good deeds and heroic acts in action against terror in northern Sinai.
اسم الشهيد البطل رقيب أحمد رضا محمود محمد المدبولي.
Sergeant Ahmed al-Madbouli, Sergeant Ahmed al-Madbouli is being posthumously honored. He sustained a gunshot while cracking down on with the rest of the troops on a terror hotbed, and his living father and mother are being honored by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. So Sergeant Al-Madbouli is being honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. And His Excellency the President is about to give them a plaque or coat of arms in acknowledgement of the heroic acts done by the late martyred son, Sergeant Al-Madbouli, for his heroic acts.
اسم الشهيد البطل رقيب أحمد عبد الموجود محمدي حسنين.
Sergeant Mohammadi is also being posthumously honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. He received a gunshot while securing a naval checkpoint at sea. And about to be honored are his living father and mother. Sergeant Mohammadi is a Navy Sergeant. Navy Sergeant Mohammadi was on the crackdown, and he was assigned with securing a naval checkpoint at sea when he received a fatal gunshot.
اسم الشهيد البطل عريف عماد أمير رشدي يعقوب. استشهد البطل أثناء تنفيذ إحدى المداهمات بموقع البرس بشمال
Corporal
بطلق الناري أدى إلى استشهاده.
Corporal
ويتسلم التكريم والده ووالدته.
Corporal Amir Rushdi Yaqub are being posthumously honored, and the father and mother of the martyred corporal are being honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. Corporal Amir Rushdi is being posthumously honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. Well, the lady seems to be the one who had just appeared on video footage talking about her Christian son who was killed and taken care of by a Muslim friend's mother.
اسم الشهيد البطل عريف إيهاب يسري فوزي الغريب محمد. استشهد البطل
Corporal Yusri Ihab Muhammad.
للقضاء على البؤر الإرهابية.
Corporal Yusri Muhammad was killed, fell in action while engaging in a gunshot, in a gun battle, in a shootout with terrorists when he was on patrol. Corporal Ihab Yusri was on a patrol to comb terror hotbeds when they were fired at by terrorist groups, by some terrorist elements. President El Sisi is honoring with the coat, is giving a coat of arms to the family of Martyr Mustafa Abidu, Colonel Mustafa Abidu, who was martyred during one of the frequent crackdowns on terror hotbeds in northern Sinai. And he's having a friendly talk with the martyred family, with the martyr's family.
اسم الشهيد البطل رائد سعيد حمدي سعيد أحمد استشهد البطل أثناء القيام بأعمال التفتيش.
Major Hamdi Saeed Ahmed is being honored, is being posthumously honored.
ويتسلم التكريم والده ووالدته.
Major Ahmed is being posthumously honored by his father and mother. The martyr's living father and mother are being honored by President El Sisi. The son, Hamdi Ahmed, was killed in action as he was clamping down on a hot spot of terror. President El Sisi is having a friendly talk with the martyr's family, living father and mother, as giving them a coat of arms in recognition of the son's heroic deeds in northern Sinai. It seems that the living father and mother of the martyr are calling from the rows of seats of the people of the audience, people who are related, kith and kin, some kith and kin of the martyrs, would like to have a talk with the president. Some of the relatives of the martyr seems to have joined seems to have joined armed forces. That's why he went up to the stage in uniform and made a military salute to the president. It seems to be his one of his comrades in arms. And we have a photo opportunity with His Excellency President El Sisi.
اسم الشهيد البطل نقيب وسام منصور محمد أمين. استشهد البطل أثناء تنفيذ دورية تمشيط طريق الماسورة المهدية. تم تبادل إطلاق النيران مع العناصر التكفيرية.
A captain is being posthumously honored as well, and he was killed in action while combing one of the regions in northern Sinai which are known to be infested with terror. He was combing the area when he received a gunshot that killed him immediately.
اسم الشهيد البطل ملازم شرف بسام نجيب إبراهيم علي. استشهد البطل أثناء قيامه بأعمال
honorary lieutenant, honorary second lieutenant, honorary second lieutenant is being posthumously honored, and the plaque, the honorary coat of arms and plaque given to him by the president will be received by his wife and his son and daughter. So, honorary second lieutenant who was killed in action is being posthumously honored by His Excellency President El Sisi. His wife and his son and daughter are receiving a plaque, a coat of arms in recognition, in acknowledgement of his of the martyr's good deeds and heroic acts in action against terror in northern Sinai.
اسم الشهيد البطل رقيب أحمد رضا محمود محمد المدبولي.
Sergeant Ahmed al-Madbouli, Sergeant Ahmed al-Madbouli is being posthumously honored. He sustained a gunshot while cracking down on, with the rest of the troops, on a terror hotbed, and his living father and mother are being honored by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. So Sergeant Al-Madbouli is being honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. And His Excellency the President is about to give them a plaque or coat of arms in acknowledgement of the heroic acts done by the son, by the late martyred son, Sergeant Al-Madbouli, for his heroic acts.
اسم الشهيد البطل رقيب أحمد عبد الموجود محمدي حسنين.
Sergeant Mohammadi is also being posthumously honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. He received a gunshot while securing a naval checkpoint at sea. And about to be honored are his living father and mother. Sergeant Mohammadi is a Navy Sergeant. Navy Sergeant Mohammadi was on the crackdown, and he was assigned with securing a naval checkpoint at sea when he received a fatal gunshot.
اسم الشهيد البطل عريف عماد أمير رشدي يعقوب. استشهد البطل أثناء تنفيذ إحدى المداهمات بموقع البرس بشمال سيناء.
Corporal
بطلق الناري أدى إلى استشهاده.
Corporal
ويتسلم التكريم والده
يعقوب.
ووالدته.
Corporal Amir Rushdi Yaqub are being honored, are being posthumously honored, and the father and mother of the martyred corporal are being honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. Corporal Amir Rushdi is being posthumously honored by President Abdel Fattah El Sisi. Well, the lady seems to be the one who had just appeared on video footage talking about her Christian son who was killed and taken care of by a Muslim friend's mother.
اسم الشهيد البطل عريف إيهاب يسري فوزي الغريب محمد. استشهد البطل
Corporal Yusri Ihab Muhammad.
للقضاء على البؤر الإرهابية.
Corporal Yusri Muhammad was killed, fell in action while engaging in a gunshot, in a gun battle, in a shootout with terrorists when he was on patrol. Corporal Yusri Ihab Yusri was on a patrol to comb terror hotbeds when they were fired at by terrorist groups, by some terrorist elements. So they had to return fire and engage in a gun battle, in a shootout with terrorists Then he sustained a fatal gunshot and fell in action immediately.
ومن مصاب العمليات الحربية.
Now the president
أركان حرب متقاعد نور الدين أحمد حنفي محمود من القوات الجوية.
now retired Air Force officer is going to be honored by His Excellency President El Sisi. Air Commodore, retired Air Commodore is being honored by President El Sisi. He was wounded during the 1969 War of Attrition. Air Commodore, retired Air Commodore from the Air Force is being honored by
قدمه أبطال الجيش الأبيض الرحيم في مواجهة جائحة فيروس كورونا. تكرم اليوم مصر الطبيب الذي أصيب أثناء علاج المصابين بالفيروس فاقترب من لقاء ربه وكانت آخر كلماته وصيتي إليك يا الله أطفال الضعفاء الذين لم أفرح بهم.
Now in recognition Martyr Ahmad Mahdi, who belonged to the so-called white army of nurses and doctors who have been confronting a corona pandemic. He lost his life to corona pandemic, and his last words while breathing his last was, Allah, I am coming to you, and I'd like my family and the rest of the government to take care of my children. The President is honoring a member of the so-called White Army, the army of doctors, of medical doctors and nurses who have been confronting corona pandemic since it first broke out almost 1.5 years ago. He died, he lost his life to the pandemic, and when he was dying, when he was on his deathbed, he prayed to Allah and supplicated to Allah that the rest of his people should take care of his own family, particularly his daughter and his son.
كما تكرم اليوم مصر بطلا آخر آثر على نفسه إلا أن يكون في الصفوف الأولى لمواجهة هذا الفيروس وكان في انتظار
another hero who has lost his eyesight.
البصري للعينين فقد بصره ولم ينعم برؤية فلذة كبده.
another medical
بطل محمود سامي قنيبر.
Medical doctor Mahmoud Sami Qanibar is another hero who belongs to the White Army. He's a medical doctor who has got his sight nerve damaged while confronting the corona pandemic, and he couldn't even have seen his newly born son because he had lost his eyesight before his son or daughter was to be delivered. Now he is the medical doctor who has lost his eyesight to the pandemic, is posing with the president and his own family, the doctor's family, I mean, for a photo opportunity, and he's being given a plaque and a coat of arms in recognition of his highly valuable sacrifice for having lost his own eyesight. The president is escorting the visually impaired medical doctor down to the flight of stairs where he's going to come down the stage. The president is even escorting him to his seat, escorting him by the arm. Escorting the medical doctor, visually impaired.
كما نكرم اليوم أرملة الشهيد البطل عريف مجند محمد رفعت عبد اللطيف حجازي
recruited
البطل أثناء تنفيذ العمليات تكريم أرملته السيدة بسينة هلال محمد
recruited corporal Martyr, another recruited corporal who has lost his life during the October War is being honored, and to receive the presidential recognition will be his mother and his wife. So recruited corporal who has lost his life during the October War is being honored by President El Sisi.
ونكرم اليوم والدة أحد مصاب العمليات الحربية خلال العمليات الأخيرة بسيناء، نقيب مصاب عمليات أحمد سيف أحمد محمود، والذي أصيب خلال اشتراكه في عمليات التأمين بشمال سيناء، وتتسلم التكريم والدته السيدة نوسة السيد إبراهيم الشرقاوي.
Captain Saif Ahmed is being honored. He's wounded and is still being hospitalized. He's not dead. He's being hospitalized, and yes, the one coming all the way on a pair of crutches is the captain. Is Captain Saif, has been wounded during a recent crackdown in northern Sinai.
الحضور الكريم مع كلمة السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية القائد الأعلى.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, now the floor is being given to His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of the Arab Republic of Egypt and Supreme Commander, who doubles as the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. Now the floor is being given to His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
يعني دايما اليوم دوت يوم يعني اننا نلتقي جميعا.
I've always cherished that day when I used to meet the families of those martyrs who have fallen in action, and I used to also meet and honor those wounded. They have done so. Those who have killed in action have done so, and those who have been wounded have also done so in order for us to live. I don't want to say that we are going to forget, well, we'll not forget you, because we'll always remember you, and none of you, whether you have fallen in action or wounded, none of you will be falling into oblivion. Never. Never will you fall into oblivion. We'll always remember you.
وزي ما اتقال كده للشهيد الفريق عبد المنعم رياض لما قال الأمانة. Let me quote General Abdel Menem Riyad, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, who fell in action, who was martyred in 1969 during the attrition war. Let me quote this great general, who said that you have to be honest. You have to be honest in know your strengths and your weaknesses. Unquote. Actually, on that day, well, remembering those killed in action and those wounds carry a lot of emotions and anguish for us all. Let me, through you, as I address you now, let me pay tribute to the families of those killed in action, those who have fallen as martyrs, and those who are wounded. Let me pay tribute and tell them all, through addressing you, let me tell them all that we are holding them in great regard, we're holding them in great esteem, and will always remain so. They have lost their lives. In the name of God, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and most merciful, you great people of Egypt, on that day, on this very day, when all people of Egypt remember the dead, one of the immortal and eternal days, we meet today, on that day. We meet here in order to remember the sacrifices made by those great heroes who have written down, who have emblazoned great chapters of greatness in history, who have gone down in history as great heroes, who have sacrificed their own lives in order for the country to live happier. Well, actually, to preserve and maintain the security of one's homeland is not an easy thing. No, in order to preserve your own country, sometimes one has to lose his own life. And throughout the history, the national and patriotic history of Egypt, we have seen such great and enlightening examples of those people who have fallen in action in order to defend their own country. Just as the past was teeming with the great heroic acts of our forefathers,
the present time, contemporary time, and the present time is also teeming with not less great stories of heroism and patriotism. We, the forthcoming generations will always be telling their own stories. Let me say here that had it not been for this blood that was shed, that has been shed on northern Sinai, Egypt wouldn't have been stable or secure for us to make a takeoff towards overall development, which we are seeing everywhere in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's quite clear to everyone that during the past decade, actually the entire world has been witnessing over the past decade events which have, well, as they have been unfolding, that dealt a fatal blow to the concept of a national state or national homeland. And actually, it's so. Such events have flared up, triggered off destruction and devastation. Egypt, being right in the core, at the heart of such unfolding events, Egypt has managed to build its own. Egypt has been. In view of all these, Egypt has barricaded itself behind firm creed and firm faith, with its patriotic army making it conspicuous all the time that its own loyalty will always remain to the land of Egypt. And let me from this podium pay tribute to the great people of the armed forces who have been shouldered with the honor of protecting the country. Let me also pay tribute to civil police people for protecting and maintaining internal security, domestic security of Egypt, so that the rest of the state's institutions can carry on with the responsibilities. I shouldn't miss when talking about the sacrifices of the people. I can't miss on. I can't miss on paying tribute as well to our people, our sons and daughters who have joined the White Army, the army of medical doctors and nurses who have been carrying out a battle against corona pandemic. Let me also pay tribute to the Egyptian government as well as all state institutions for having wisely and sagely managing the crisis and coexist with the pandemic. You great people of Egypt, as my speech comes to a close, let me tell you that as we mark the day of veterans and the day of veteran warriors and the day of martyrs, let me tell those bereaved families that we all hold you in great esteem, that myself as the President and the great people of Egypt hold in great esteem and hold in great regard all of you as people who have lost a son in the fight against terror. I'm telling you,
And let me tell everyone who has lost a loved one in action that you are not alone in life. We'll be with you, the entire nation will be with you as you continue to live after having lost your loved ones. Let me assert to you all that the entire, if you have lost one of your loved ones, let me tell you that the entirety of Egypt will be your loved ones. And always say, long live Egypt, long live Egypt, long live Egypt, long live Egypt.
يعني هي الجملة أو الكلمات اللي أنا قلتها ديت كانت كلمة مصر للشهيد.
Well, what I've already read out to you has been Egypt's speech marking the day of veteran warriors and the day of martyrs. Let me let me infringe on your time for a few more minutes.
القيمة الكبيرة والعظيمة اللي قدمها الشعب المصري.
We have always cherished and taken pride in the sacrifices made by the entire Egyptian people.
مفيش مكان في مصر.
Nowhere in Egypt, well, we have seen sacrifices being offered by everyone in Egypt. Nowhere in Egypt we find a person who hasn't lost someone in action. This has been a great or dear price paid by the 100 million people who are the population of Egypt. During the forthcoming years, the government has been bracing up in order to provide decent lives for its people, for decent life for about 58 million people, particularly in the countryside. We have been striving to change for the better. I have been following the comments and remarks made by our people at villages dotted everywhere in Egypt. Well, the Egyptian countryside has been neglected and left for long years. No, I'm saying so not to blame anyone in a previous government or previous ruler, no. But I'm saying so in order to make it clear that we will not be sparing any effort in order to upgrade our countryside. In order to tell people that the government, the state, is not working only to upgrade the lives of urban people, but also rural people are going to be upgraded as well, are going to be improved as well. We have always said that we would like to employ our children, to find them jobs. Well, the ultimate hope of any person is to receive decent and good education, to be employed. And let me tell you something, the present farming land we are living on, we have been living on for years and for decades and centuries, and now facing dangers. It's a great responsibility. We shoulder a great and enormous responsibility of preserving this land. Any infringement on this, well, any infringement or impinging on this farming land which have been working on and cultivating for food for years and years and years, well, actually, any infringement on this land does not only mean that we are going to lose the produce, the product of the produce of this land, no, but it also means that, of course, we'll be losing the produce of this land, but will be sprawling on the land that should have been left for cultivation and farming.
هتعمل انتاج افضل، بس كمان هي محتاجه ان احنا نحافظ عليها.
Well, this land has to be preserved. This farming land has to be preserved. If we continue doing so, well, actually, if we continue, if we continue this pattern of infringement and trespassing on farming land, it will come a time someday when Egypt will have no farming land, will have no farming land to cultivate and grow crops for its food. So, if we are looking forward to a brighter future, we should be vigilant, should remain, and we should be vigilant, should be wide awake to the hazards, to the risks we have overshadowing us. Actually, let me tell our rural people, it's not any more useful for countryside people to grow horizontally. We shouldn't let people keep constructing horizontally houses besides each other, a house by the side of another house and so on. We should ponder thoroughly how to grow vertically.
أنا عايز أقول لكم وإحنا نفتح محاور في المناطق اللي كان فيها سكن غير مخطط، يعني بنضطر إن إحنا ندفع أموال ضخمة جدا جدا.
Well, let me tell you that when in recent days we have been opening up new roads and new access to connect highways. We have had to pay a lot of money in compensation to people because some of the houses have to be removed. Because you know, we have been removing some of the unplanned housing which have long trespassed on this land. Let me say to every institution of the state, the media, intellectuals, religious scholars, see, look, Egypt has a population of 100 billion people, and Egypt has an area of 1 million square kilometers. And the Egyptian people are exclusively restricting themselves to two narrow strips along the Nile River, rather than the entire area or entire region of Egypt. We have long been living along narrow strips on the banks of the Nile, rather than the entirety of Egypt. So we have to carefully plan any trespassing and standing guard against any trespassing, any possible trespassing on even a single inch of our land, of our farming land. As I've said at the beginning of my talk, at the outset, we are influenced by those who have been martyred. I don't want to speak lengthily, but I'd like to assure you all that by virtue of God, by grace of God, will be living in leading stable lives, and continue our drive to change our lives for better, for a much better life. In conclusion, let me tell the state, we should have opened the cities, new cities, during the past 3 or 4 years. But
but but in view of the corona pandemic, we have had to postpone and put off this new openings of new cities. So, but I'm telling you, I'm telling the Prime Minister, has been working hard with us, that we are going to open and inaugurate new cities whose the opening of which has been deferred by the corona pandemic. The inauguration of the new capital city, of the new administrative capital, will be marking another republic, will be marking the birth of another state, will be marking the birth of another state. And the entire government will be moving, will be relocating to this its new headquarters at the new administrative capital. So we as intellectuals, artists, everyone, we should brace up for this great event of relocating to the new capital. We'll be opening new cities dotted everywhere down from Aswan up to New Alamein on the northern Mediterranean coast. These all constitute great developments, and will be followed by the inauguration of the new capital city, which marks the birth of a new republic. Thank you very much.
السلام الوطني.
The national anthem of Egypt.